Like yesterday, he was captain on DC-3, and he flew for, I think he's flying for Liberty Life at that time, maybe, or Stevens Beechcraft, whichever. But he was flying a DC-3, and he took me and my sister Cora out just the airport, and he was doing a co-pilot checkout or something.
Right.
And so he let us on board and let us board. I mean, as soon as we got in the air and I started looking at cars, and they were like little matchboxes on the ground, I'm like, wow, there can't be anything cooler.
And how old were you then?
I was probably 4. From that point on, when he set me, they threw a bunch of logbooks under my fanny and slid the co-pilot seat up as far as it go, and he.
Don't tell me this is in the DC-3.
First airplane I ever put my hands on the controls of was a DC.
No kidding. And you were how old?
That's 4 or 5. I mean, I was tight. I mean, I was totally infatuated with it. And that was it. And I think he probably recognized it, because all of his other children, they didn't care about airplanes.
Okay.
And I was eat up with it. It just floored me. So I would just go with him every chance I could. And locally, my dad was a weekend farmer. He was a corporate pilot during the week, and he was a weekend farmer. So he busted our tails Friday through Sunday night. And but every once in a while, tractor, baler would break down or something, and there's a little local airport. And they knew he was a pretty good stick, so he pretty well had his way with a local steerman and a T6. And so, we'd be driving by, get parts. He said, let's whip through here and see what old Venius is doing, And so we'd pull in, and Venius would just say, get in it, go, whatever you're gonna do. And so, he'd fly the steerman. My first steerman ride was my dad. My first T6 ride was my dad. And so, I was hooked on it. So then, we just rocked along like that a few years. I never thought I'd get the chance to do it professionally. And Dad didn't, I mean, he took me because he knew I loved it. And I think deep inside, he was glad he finally had a child that loved it. Anyway, about 14, he's flying for a company called Regal Textiles. He's flying a Helio curve, and it's based at the local downtown airport. Okay. Greenville, South Carolina, Greenville Downtown Airport, KGMU. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
And they need a line boy. And he was coming in one day, and Ray Allen said, "Hey, anybody wants to work line service?" He said, "Yeah, I think I do." Because see, I've been a farm boy my whole life, so. He called and said, "Hey, you want a job at the airport?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir. What's it pay?" And it's some ridiculous, crazy money. Because, my dad paid me 25 cents an hour for farm equipment. I thought I was a millionaire. But so I took a job. At 14, I was still, and I had to shut the airport down every night at 7 o'clock.
At
so
14?
I would drive on my restricted driver's license, and what I wasn't supposed to be doing. I would drive 25 miles from our house where we lived all the way to the airport. And once I got there and I figured out what all this was about, and there was actually a school attached to this fixed base operation, I could learn to fly. And Dad started, he immediately started teaching, when I got there. And so I just, when I got my check, I just go back to flight school and just hand it off and say, "Let me know when I'm out." It was in a Cherokee Piper 140.
Okay.
And this was a transition this time. My dad was starting to take over this fixed base operation, becoming the general manager.
Okay.
So once he became that, and yeah, I soloed it because there was no, he was just embarrassed that I didn't solo tail dragger. That killed him. But when he took over as general manager and I soloed, within the next 2 weeks, he went out and bought a brand new Citabri.
Okay.
He said, "You are not going to go without being a tailwheel pilot." And so I did have to take my check ride in a tailwheel airplane.
All right.
But I actually soloed in a nose wheel, but then really soloed.
For real?
For
okay.
real.
I mean,
I want to fly for the airlines. I want to fly air shows.
Okay.
I mean, he taught me to love aerobatics, and I did. I just truly loved it, as you can see.
Oh yeah.
I love it, and so I wanted to fly for the airlines and then fly air shows on the weekend.
Okay.
I thought that'd be a cool career. Well, here's what happened. I mean, I was buzzing along, trying to make my way to the airlines. This was the late '70s.
Okay.
I thought, well, I'll do this till I get there, and I had enough flight time to take the ATP, but I wasn't old enough. I was only 22, and you had to be 23 to take the exam. So I couldn't, and I was waiting on that. And meanwhile, the economy just fell apart, energy crunch. And I went, this ain't gonna happen. I said, I'm tired of it. I said, and I don't want to be a corporate pilot the rest of my life. So I quit.
Wow.
I just quit flying, walked off from it. You know, what I liked next best was picking and singing, and it become, you know, a fun hobby. And I was playing in a band on the weekends when I was home.
Okay.
And I thought, well, hey, I'll just do what I like to do next best, and that's pick and grin. First airplane I bought, I think, was a Great Lakes, because we had a Great Lakes, and that's what I really cut my teeth in at Acro, was we had a Great Lakes. Finally had an inverted fuel and oil system, so I could stay upside down a while. First one will be the Stearman. I traded around and got the Stearman that's down at the farm now.
Okay.
You know, wasn't much of a Stearman. This is my first real Warbird here, you know, and thanks to Neil, you know, this was sitting in the museum.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
This museum.
All right.
And so that was, you know, that was really the first one. And I don't know why it took me so long to get these, because Dad, this was his favorite airplane.
Okay.
I mean, because, as you know, you can't take your hands off of it.
Right.
It'll teach you a damn lesson.